Thank you for joining us tonight and welcome. Before we get started, we want to take just a moment to acknowledge all that our community has gone through here in Sonoma County, especially in the last 4 years. We've gone from fires and smoke and bad air quality and COVID and floods. And I think I may even rattle off infestations, probably plagues and swarms and everything else that comes our way. And though we've repeatedly proven ourselves to be resilient, we must acknowledge that we've been through tough times and we need to support one another now more than ever. And as long as we're standing, Cien will always be here to support our community. So we thank you for being here with us today during these tough times. I also want to thank our moderator and panelists, which we will introduce shortly. I want to thank our sponsors who you've been seeing on the slideshow coming up. I also want to thank the program committee who has helped us put this program together. A big thank you also to Ricardo Ibarra and WhatsApp Lab, and to Ms. Betsy Chavez, who is our interpreter for tonight. So, para todos aquellos miembros que gustan una traducción en español de este programa, en la parte baja de su pantalla van a ver una gráfica que tiene un globo. Opriman ese globo y ese globo les interpretará este programa en español. There's also Q&A and chat functions. También hay funciones en ese mismo lugar para preguntas, para poder dárselos a los panelistas hoy en este programa. So thank you all for joining us. Without further ado, I'd like to present our moderator tonight. Our moderator is Hector Delgado. He has served as manager of the Santa Rosa Junior College Southwest Santa Rosa Center since May of 2014. He oversees the day-to-day operations of managing the Student Equity and Achievement Program. I previously served as a program coordinator for the Student Financial Services Department at the JC since 2001. He holds an MA in Counseling Psychology from USF and a BS in Kinesiology from Sacramento State. He is currently a board member of Cien and a chair of its Education Committee. He is also the president of the Latinx Faculty and Staff Association at the SRJC. Without further ado, and thank you again for joining us, Mr. Hector Delgado.
Thank you, Oscar, for that great introduction. It's a pleasure to be here tonight and an honor to moderate this evening's program. Equity in Education supporting—
Hector, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
I can.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, what I was saying is thank you, Oscar, for the great introduction. It is a pleasure and an honor to moderate this evening's program on equity in education, supporting sustainable solutions. Before we get started, I thought I'd provide an overview of the program format. As Oscar mentioned, the panelists will have about 5 to 8 minutes to provide an overview of what their school districts and agencies are doing to address issues they are facing with children 0 to 5 years, students and parents. We will then move to a Q&A portion of this program. Questions developed by the Cien Program Committee and questions from the audience will be asked. The audience will have an opportunity to post their questions on their chat feature in Zoom and on Facebook under the comment section. During the Q&A portion of the program, 3 poll questions will be posted on the Zoom chat feature and Facebook. At this time, I would like to thank the panelists for being here today and introduce them as well. Socorro Shields proudly serves as the superintendent of the Sonoma County Valley Unified School District with nearly 30 years of experience. The Sonoma Unified School District covers the city of Sonoma and the unincorporated valley area between Glen Ellen and the Napa County border. The Sonoma Unified School District has 600 employees who educate and nurture nearly 400 students across 5 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and both a comprehensive and continuation high school. Socorro proudest career highlights include empowering district culture shift to restorative justice for the entire school community and intentionally creating an inclusive community and organizational culture. Our next panelist will be Amy Jones-Kerr. Amy is a superintendent of the Roseland School District, a role she assumed in 2014. During her 24-year career as an educator, Amy has spent time as a teacher, assistant principal, and a school co-founder in the Roseland School District. Across the district, 90% of the students are English learners, foster youth, or eligible for free reduced price meals. In 2018-19, over 98% of the of the district high school seniors graduated, and 86% of those students were college ready. Amy is a lifelong Sonoma County resident and lives with her husband, Sean, their daughter, Lila, and their son, John Lawrence. Our next panelist is Dr. Diane Kitamura. Dr. Kitamura has served as superintendent of San Rosa City Schools District since February 2016. She has worked in public education for more than 30 years. She earned her bachelor's degree from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo and a master's degree in counseling from California State University, Sacramento. In 2019, she earned her doctorate of education and organizational leadership from Bandman University. Dr. Kitamura is committed to serving students and their families by ensuring that quality education opportunities are provided for all students. She's a proud mother of Kina and Cameron and a spouse of David, a middle school science teacher. Our next panelist is Ananda Sweet, is the VP of Public Policy and Workforce Development for Santa Rosa Metro Chamber. In this role, she oversees a variety of chamber programs, including employer-supported childcare and family-friendly workforce programs, as well as the chamber policy work. Much of this work is collaborative with local, private, public, and nonprofit sectors to support a strong local economy and a vibrant community. Ananda currently serves as the chair of the Sonoma County Workforce Investment Board and sits on the Cradle to Career Sonoma County Operations team. And last but not least is Rachel Icaza. Rachel grew up in Santa Rosa and graduated from Pioneer High School. She holds a master's in library and information science from San Jose State University. Rachel has worked for Sonoma County Library for the last 15 years. And the last 2 years as education initiatives librarian. She loves to bake pies and read young adult literature. Thank you for being here tonight. At this time, we will move into the section where each panelist will speak. But before we do that, I thought I'd provide a little bit of background as to how this program came to be. Over the past 5.5 months, our schools have to move into a virtual teaching modality. Our living rooms of our homes had to become classrooms, teachers' offices, and so on. In addition to the challenge presented with moving into a virtual teaching atmosphere, we had to deal with a learning curve on how to use the different technologies. Data that has been gathered locally shows that over 60% of our Latinx parents do not know how to operate a computer. This has presented a challenge not only with computer literacy, but also with the digital divide. We are finding that many households cannot afford high-speed internet. In some rural communities, there are no internet services available. Aside from the digital divide, we're also facing the following issues: childcare services before and after school, social emotional issues the students are facing from not having the student-to-student and the student-to-teacher interaction in a school setting, food insecurity for those schools who have a high percent of students who are in the free and reduced lunch. We also are noticing that tutoring services are not as available as we would like to. At this time, I want to allow each panelist to speak on how the districts and agencies are dealing with some of these issues. And I would like to go ahead and start with Diane Kitamura.
Thank you, Hector, for the introduction. Hello, everybody. I'm going to start just with a little bit of information. We have about 15,500 students. We do have enrollment that is declining. When I first got to the district, it was closer to 1,800. And so we have seen a bit of a decline. We have 24 schools. We have 1,600 employees. Our free and reduced meal applications are about 51%. Our population is 55% Latinx and 20% English learners, just to kind of set the foundation of Santa Rosa City Schools. I think you'll hear from my colleagues that it has been quite a challenge. That's probably an understatement. To get school started, first thinking we might be in-person learning in a hybrid situation and then going completely to distance learning. I think the shift from hybrid to distance learning really placed a lot of worry about our most vulnerable populations and not being able to see them at all in person. For us, definitely our Latinx, our EL population, and our special ed education population. Trying to figure out how we provide the services that they not only deserve, but must be done in order to address all of the inequities and disparities that begin to show up. And not just from the pandemic, but in general, just as a general practice from the social infrastructures that have happened over the years and over time. But compound that with the Tubbs fire and the PSPS and Kincaid and all the different things that our communities have been faced with. I think our problems, our challenges are unique because over time, there just continues to be the inability to provide the services that we want to provide. So you spoke specifically, Hector, you asked about 3 to 5, you asked about students, you asked about parents. And so I'm going to try to respond in that order. For our 3 to 5-year-olds, excuse me, and every single one of these has been a challenge, but you know, a challenge is a challenge and you just have to move forward. There's a couple of areas. One is in our preschool and particularly our special education preschool and how we serve students. Right now, our biggest challenge is getting the necessary equipment to 2- and 3-year-olds that don't necessarily have an email account. And so working together with parents and then distributing equipment that they really actually don't know how to use, that is really going to be the parent. So you can see where I'm going with this parent component, especially for preschoolers in school, and how we are serving and teaching and partnering with parents. From a childcare side of it, and I think Ananda Sweet will probably talk a lot about this, I hope too, we have a district childcare program, and we are we have agreements with our classified staff, our classified union, to redesignate staff, because what we want to do is have more help with support care for children, whether it be in our district child care program or whether it be on campus to help support our staff with child care. You know, our staff are considered essential employees and we need them to run school, but how are they going to be able to work if there isn't child care for them? So we're working with our own classified staff to help out with support care. We're working with our district child care to provide care for families and also for employees. And we are also, this moves up into students, working with the Boys and Girls Club to offer programs all day, because when students are in their non-distance learning time, then what's happening? You know, how are we supporting them? And the focus is, first kind of a layered approach is our special education students, our English learner students. You know, we just prioritize them first in terms of care, so that we can also get some support academics in there and social emotional as well. With regard to parents, we have just as we have a hotline or a tech hotline for staff, we also have that for parents. Because like you said, parents who have not experienced the use of a computer, especially when they're trying to help their students, has been a challenge. I know I keep using that word. But the bright side of that is I just saw videos that principals have sent me with parents working with their students on a platform called Seesaw. And you can hear the parents in the background prompting them. It may be in Spanish, but it's still a prompt. And so I see we're beginning to have a shift, but it's still work we need to do and want to do with working together with our parents, with Parent University, parent trainings as well. We're very fortunate to have a group in our district called Family Engagement Facilitators. They are at every site and they are bilingual, and they really are a liaison and a connection to parents. So those are some examples from our district. I know, again, my colleague will have a lot more, but since I went first, those are the first things that I thought of. And so if that's okay, I'll turn it over to I don't know how much time I took, but I'll turn it over to my colleague.
No, you did great, Diane. Thank you very much. At this time, we would like to move in with Socorro Chills in the Sonoma Unified School District.
Thank you. And first and foremost, I want to thank everyone. Like Oscar said, these are incredible times, and I am amazed at the resiliency and strength of our community. And I am saddened that we're called upon to be so strong so often, but I am in complete amazement about our ability to persevere and to come together when needed. I also want to thank Cien for recognizing tonight, and for as long as I've known the organization, the role education plays in uplifting our community, and what an important asset it is for us that all students are well served in our public education system. So thank you for always recognizing that, and thank you for recognizing that the community in total contributes to that, not just parents and not just staff, but every one of us have an important role to play in our public schools. And so thank you for that. And I want to thank as well the Sonoma Valley Unified for their hard work. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of every superintendent really in the nation. That staffs have done amazing work, and so much of it is invisible. And it might seem like a simple thing to go from the classroom to these virtual worlds. And our teachers, our custodians, everybody has made it look easy, and it's been an incredibly heavy lift. And we should be forever grateful to them. And I also want to assure parents that we are working so that every day your students get what they need. There will be no lost generation on this watch. It is not going to happen. This is not ideal times. This is not ideally how we want to be teaching, but this is going to be learning. And so we definitely want to appreciate everything that's going on. And like Diane, just some quick Sonoma Valley facts. We are about, I realize I'm sitting here in the dark, I'm sorry. We are about 64% free and reduced lunch, 30% English learner, about 4,000 students, and over 600 dedicated employees that serve those families and students every day. And so about 58% Latino student population. And really, the problems, you know, when we had the fires, we've talked about Saturday problems and inequalities that have existed for a long time, and they just become that much more visible when we have natural disasters, and the pandemic is no different. So just to concur with Diane about the issues that are in our community that we all have to address, those issues of food insecurity, which our staffs are addressing, technology and internet, which are similar but different. I'm so proud that Sonoma Valley has been able to provide Chromebooks for each and every student, and we've given out 25% of our students have hotspots for their families to be able to go online. But this issue of computer literacy for all, that's parents and students, those are necessary prerequisite skills that we now are having to address in a much quicker on-ramp than we ever had to do before. And whether people are familiar with technology or speak Spanish, we are kind of looking for those trilingual unicorns. So someone who's fluent in English, Spanish, and technology to help us build strength and new muscles in our communities to serve. The issue of supervision during the day when families must work to maintain their household budgets and to make sure they have a roof and food for their children. It is really difficult for many of our hourly employees who don't have the type of flexibility that other jobs might provide to be home and have supervision for their children. So we appreciate the Boys and Girls Clubs and other partners, many of our interfaith community partners that are finding spaces to do kind of pop up, if you would, pods and learning situations where students can be. And then internet access, where it does seem like it should be a simple fix, and yet we have many people where the internet isn't fast enough, strong enough, cheap enough to access, and that does seem like a problem we should be able to solve. And the last thing I would say is the mental health issues. Our all of us in this pandemic are going through issues of isolation, of a loss of hope, you know, fear, anxiety, and that of course affects our littles, it affects our students, it affects their parents and what's happening at home. And so we're creating all types of ways to get together as a community, and we want to thank our partners for doing that. And I'll just end with, we can't do this alone. We could never do school alone. And now certainly in the midst of this pandemic, which exacerbates all the other inequities in our community, we need everyone more than ever. I look forward to discussing some of those ideas, but definitely now is a time to lean in to your public schools, to public education, because the future of our country depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Socorro. At this time, we will move in with Amy Jones-Kurt.
Thank you so much, Hector. Thank you for having me here today. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. From an early age, I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. What drives me is to help and serve people. And let me tell you, it's an understatement to say that we are serving our students and our families right now. A little bit about the Roseland School District. Historically, we were an elementary school district. We served preschool through 6th grade, and back in 2002, we opened charter schools, Roseland Accelerated Middle School, just to expand our programs. We wanted to keep our students and we wanted to finish out with them, and this is what our families wanted. So currently today we have 6 school sites serving preschool all the way through high school. We're very proud of our charter programs and what we're doing. We have a very beautiful and special population, close to 90% free and reduced, as well as second language learners. So a very, very underserved population, but very, very special. They require a lot of needs and a lot of heart and dedication. And today, you know, what we are faced with, what we're struggling with is, what is our magic in Roseland that I wholeheartedly believe is not only having the right people with the right hearts to serve and do what we need to do and the daily grind every day. And our parents feel that. They feel our passion, they feel our hearts. And right now with distance learning, that connection is not there. So our teachers are wrapping their heads around this, and they're doing everything that they can to make that magic still happen. But that connection with our students and that one-on-one relationship is something that's really a disservice for us right now. But I have to tell you, I have the best staff, and we are making it happen. We have interventions and systems in place. We are still serving our populations. Something that we're also greatly struggling with is the great amount of stress for our families, our students, and our staff. So we had to really dig deeply to figure out how can we help our staff. And one of those avenues is we're being very flexible in the working environment. We are in fact allowing them, if they need to bring their own child onto campus, you know, with very strict restrictions, of course, with that, because we need our teachers. They are the magic, and our students rely on them. So we are being very flexible in that aspect, and also with the aspect of the flexibility of working from home or in the classroom. And that's an area, you know, schools can't do this alone. And this is an area where I really urge business owners and people who have employees to understand the stress that is upon all of us. You know, myself, I have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old, and it's very, very difficult to serve and do all the great things that we need to do when you have these other barriers, you know, along your side. So we need the community support, you know, in that aspect. In our district, on a typical day, we serve about 1,600 breakfast and lunch daily. So that is a huge key factor. We are continuing to do that, you know, for our students. We are striving to keep doing the best absolute possible job that we can with our students. We're very proud of our graduation rates. We have one of the highest graduation rates in the county, and that just comes from, again, those relationships, the dedication, the systems in place, and the support that we provide amongst our faculty, our students, and holistically in our entire district. But again, I thank Cien for having us here today and having these rich conversations, because again, we are a school district, we are one piece of this puzzle, and we need our community. And my goal in being here today and speaking with you and my fellow colleagues and all of us is, Please, let's help each other. It would be absolutely amazing and wonderful for people that are watching us live here today to know that what we are doing. And if you could walk away from these conversations and hearing what we're going through and what we're trying to do for our future leaders, and if there's anything that you can do and step away and say, I can do that, or I can contact this school with this person for these support services, then I think as a community, we have reached our goal for today. And I thank Cien for bringing us here together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. Okay, at this time, we're going to move with Ananda Sweet. She's going to provide an overview of the childcare services available locally.
Great, thank you, Hector. Let me just share my screen quickly here. Okay, so you should see my slide. So again, it's, as Hector said, Ananda Sweet with the Santa Rosa Metro Chamber of Commerce. So you've likely seen headlines like this. We were already in a childcare crisis before the Tubbs fire in October of 2017. This was magnified by the loss of childcare slots overnight, and now again exacerbated by COVID-19. Parents are trying to balance childcare and work. Childcare providers are trying to stay open or reopen with really what's an unsustainable new business model, and employers are trying to determine how and when their working parents can return to work. Parents rely on childcare to help them enter, re-enter, or remain in the workforce, but access to affordable quality childcare has become even harder to come by. Now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, families are experiencing additional challenges, and finding childcare is nearly impossible. Almost half of working parents are now working remotely. 75% of working parents currently have children staying at home with a parent during work hours, and 2/3 of parents have changed their care arrangement due to COVID, and 60% will do so in the next year. Unequal COVID impact and lack of childcare capacity and affordability are just the start of the equity issues with our current childcare system. The layers of equity issues could easily be a presentation in and of itself. And so I want to at least start with some of the high level equity issues that stand out as you look at the information in the rest of this presentation. At a foundational level, all children deserve access to early learning opportunities that will increase their chances for success in life. Childcare shortages will not affect all families equally. Low-income families that pay for care on average spend 25% of their income on childcare. And low-income Black and Latinx children and families are most impacted. And this contributes to really what's long-term systemic inequity: educational outcomes, incarceration rates, health outcomes, income and wealth inequality, to name a few areas that are dramatically affected by inequitable access to quality early care and education. 50% of childcare workers qualify for public benefits before COVID. Inequitable potential to exposure to COVID for childcare providers and families with fewer options. And some solutions really just leave out the most vulnerable children. So in terms of COVID impact, pre-COVID in California, we had just one childcare slot for every 3.6 children. Current availability post-COVID is one slot for every 7.4 kids. 81% of our center-based care in the state have closed, and 47% of licensed family childcare homes have closed since COVID. Looking at the local Sonoma County data, 73% of providers are either closed or have no vacancies. 56% of childcare providers have closed, and of open providers are only operating at about 40% of their pre-COVID capacity. So what's driving these closures? We all know that the small business community has been severely impacted by COVID-19, and the majority of childcare is provided by small business owners. To compound the problem, childcare providers operated on razor-thin margins pre-COVID. Those that are open face increased operational costs to keep kids and staff safe, and with greatly reduced revenue due to public health requirements for smaller, stable groups, social distancing. Nationally, 60% of childcare providers have closed, and 40% will permanently close without public assistance. In June of 2020, the Chamber of Commerce Foundation surveyed working parents and employers from across the country to understand the impact that childcare has on their ability to return to work. 79% of employers have shifted a significant part of their workforce to remote work. 40% of employers have offered additional childcare, and 51% of employers are likely to provide additional childcare assistance if the government offers incentives, accommodations, assistance, or benefits due to COVID-19. So before COVID and school and childcare center closures, there was a clear business case for investment in childcare. It's a two-generation workforce issue, essential to support the workforce of today and vital to develop our workforce of tomorrow. In terms of our future workforce, Research shows that babies form over 90% of the brain connections that determine how they talk, think, and grow by the time they're 5 years old. Children who participate in high-quality preschool programs are 40% less likely to drop out of school and 50% less likely to participate in special education. In fact, of the 2.5 million students who dropped out of high school in America last year, approximately 1.6 million were firmly set on that path by the time they were 8 years old. In terms of our current workforce, on average, half of parents miss 8.6 days of work due to childcare issues. Depending on whether they subsidize tuition for employees, employers that invest on on-site care see up to and beyond a 100% return on that investment in the form of tax savings and credits, increased retention rates, increased productivity, eased employee recruitment, and improved company culture. As an example, 80% of parents would leave their current job for another that provided childcare. There have been many important interim solutions. We saw local funds for emergency childcare for healthcare workers in response to COVID-19. State contractors for subsidized care have been held harmless from COVID impact and continue to receive reimbursement at pre-COVID levels. And federal solutions like pandemic unemployment have helped childcare providers. There have also been several bright spots. Pre-pandemic, we had made tremendous progress in beginning to create cross-sector partnerships and in recovering some of the slots lost during the wildfire disasters. The Santa Rosa Metro Chamber, First 5 Sonoma County, the City of Santa Rosa, Four Cs, and the Child Care Planning Council have worked closely together over the past 2 years to support local solutions, particularly supporting employer-supported childcare, and to create a more resilient childcare system. The City of Santa Rosa has added incentives for childcare and housing development and has made the permitting process for new childcare development easier and less expensive. In response to COVID-related school closures, Santa Rosa's dedicated 100% of its recreation space and staff to distance learning camp and care. During last month's goal-setting meeting, the city set childcare as a Tier 1 priority. This is a huge win for our community, as these goals drive determination of city priorities and resources. The city's identified initial funds to allocate for economic recovery specific to childcare needs as an opportunity to leverage additional funds to strengthen our local childcare system. All in all, these bright spots highlight that while this challenge is huge, it's not insurmountable. Locally, we've formed partnerships, created programs, secured funding, and set policies to enable change, not just for Santa Rosa, but as a model of what's possible. What we've seen begin here locally is what we need at a local, state, and federal level. And that is to elevate the societal value of childcare to be seen as essential infrastructure. Access to quality early care is the best long-term investment we can make in community health, social equity, and business success. Thorough economic studies cite about a $7 return for every dollar invested in quality early education, in savings from special education, remediation, better health outcomes, reduced need for social services, lower criminal justice costs, increased self-sufficiency and productivity of families. In fact, not only does investing in childcare pay for itself, at a rate of return of 13% per annum, it offers a better rate of return than the stock market. Best said by Nobel Prize-winning economist James Heckman, children without access to quality education and care will suffer for the rest of their lives, and all of us will pay the price in higher social costs and declining economic fortunes. All that we've been discussing today collectively as a panel on education and support of children birth through grade 12 matters to all of us. We all have a call to action. Your role starts as simply as recognizing the needs of your workforce, your coworkers, your neighbors, your community, and understanding the tremendous benefit to all of us that comes from investing in our collective future in this way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananda. Last but not least, we're gonna go ahead and go to Rachel Icasa. She will tell us about what the library is doing to provide services to our community. Rachel?
Thank you so much, Hector. Thank you for having me here tonight. This is a really exciting group of folks, and this is a very important discussion. Sonoma County Library, when the shelter-in-place order came down, we immediately said amongst all of our team members, how can we support education right now? How can we support all of our families out there? And we did what we do best. We got books in the hands of kids and families in whatever format we could. We've talked about food insecurity so far in this panel. It is a priority to look at how can we support getting good nutrition to students, because if they can't eat, they're not going to learn well. So what we do at Sonoma County Library, every summer we have a summer lunch at the library program. And this year we were unable to serve meals because of shelter in place and all of the different issues. So instead, I was part of a team that wrote a grant for over $40,000 that we were awarded by the California State Library Lunch at the Library program. And we were able to distribute brand new, beautiful paperbacks to the lunch distribution sites all over the county. We went to 30 different sites, and I have more books, so I'll be in touch with our superintendents here. By the end of this school year, we will have given out 12,000 brand new, beautiful books to your students. So that's one way that we're getting books in the hands of students. Another way that we want to make sure that students can get books is through technology. We have lots and lots of digital books that parents and students can access. And we've said to ourselves, okay, we need to think about how can people get access to the library even when they can't go into our buildings. So there is a partnership that we have with many school districts, and we're definitely looking to expand that partnership. It's called the Student One Card Initiative, and it's a really exciting way to offer easy, barrier-free, convenient access to the library digital resources for every single student in your district. And I'm very proud to say that every district superintendent who's represented here is partnered with the library through this program. So we're really, really grateful for that. Part of the Student One Card initiative, it allows students to use their student ID number as a library account. So they can go online and check out materials through our online resources with their student ID number. And part of the partnership for that is training for faculty. So myself and our wonderful youth services librarians and all 14 of our locations, we do training with staff and faculty. I was doing one just the other day. There were 90 teachers in that training. It was very exciting to be able to share online resources with teachers, give them real world examples of how they can use these resources. And during the summer, I was able to have virtual meetings with anyone who wanted to come, teachers, parents, whomever was interested in how can we integrate digital resources from the public library into your home classroom, into your digital classroom or a Google Classroom. We really want to get the word out about how to use all the resources that the community pays for. The Sonoma County Library, we in part get our funding through taxes, through Measure Y. And we want to make sure that we are demonstrating to the community that their tax dollars are going back towards them, or reallocating those resources back towards the community. Early childhood interventions, we still are doing a lot of story times. Our wonderful, wonderful children's librarians. If you haven't looked at Sonoma Library on YouTube, you really should check it out. There are so many super fun videos on crafts, on science experiments, read alouds, you name it, we're doing it. In English, Spanish, and French. We're working on tutorial videos for parent education about how to use our resources at home, for teachers to post to their Google Classrooms about how to use the Overdrive books, how to use Nat Geo Kids, how to use Tutorcom, which is a wonderful free service that your taxes provide to all students. I could go on and on and on. I have the best job in the world getting to be the Education Initiatives Librarian for Sonoma County Library, working with teachers and parents and students to share our love of books. The library's foundation is reading and information and books. And I don't know about you, but I couldn't have gotten through the last 6 months of our life without books, without being able to dive into another world, a story that I can connect to, and then be able to talk to somebody about that book that I really enjoyed, or get ideas from someone else, like, ooh, I need a book suggestion. When you think about the public library, you might think about, all they have is books there, right? Yes, we have lots and lots of books, and we have very passionate, excited professional librarians just like me who would love to speak to parents, who want to hop into Zoom classrooms and get kids excited about books, excited about reading, to share our favorite books, to do read alouds, to co-teach with the faculty. I could go on and on. I don't want to take the whole evening, but thank you so much for having this message here tonight in your presentation. And please do come see us at Curbside. The libraries are open for curbside service. Unfortunately, we can't have browsing, But if you call the library and say, hey, I've got, you know, a third grader who's kind of a reluctant reader, what do you have for me? Our librarians will make a bag of books for that student, and you can just come pick it up at curbside. Love to hear the questions in the Q&A. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you everyone for the great information you all provided this evening. It is obvious that we are very resilient with our communities. You know, we faced a lot of adversity over the last several years with fires, floods, and now a pandemic. And, you know, being away from our campuses, being away from our offices, it does present a challenge, but it seems that everyone's adapting to what I want to say the new normal, if I may. But at the same time, we know that we are eager to go back and continue the great work that we are doing. So with that, I have a question that came up, and the question is to the three superintendents. So we are in our third week of school, or the school year, and the question is, what has been your biggest challenge? And any of the superintendents can go ahead and answer that question.
I'll go ahead and jump in.
All right, thanks, Amy.
Sure, of course. For me personally, with my teachers, and I have to appreciate the extreme high expectations for our teachers. My teachers are really struggling because they have these immense, you know, things they want to do with their students, and things are different, and everything's taking 4 times the amount of time. The communication is taking 4 times the amount of time, and they aren't able to serve our students at the level they want to because it's just not possible right now. So that is a huge challenge with us working with our staff to have them realize it's okay, we're doing the best we can, and our students are going to be okay, and we're going to work through this together as a team. So that is currently in, I think, day 8 we're in, or, you know, whatever it is, that's currently today what my leadership and myself are struggling with.
Okay. Will you, Socorro, Diane would like to answer this question?
Certainly similar to Amy. I think part of it for all of us as a community, I think it's really about remaining hopeful and realizing that this will end. This will be, at some point, this will be in our rearview mirror. And we want to make sure that everything we're investing in right now has a positive, lasting effect for our community, for our students, for our staff, and taking these opportunities to create the change we've always wanted in how we interact with our partners and how we serve families in our communication. And so it really is about how do we do that in very shifting sands about what's safe, what's not, when it's safe. I mean, if I can't even know when I go to the hairdresser, how are we going to bring back so many students and employees to interact? And I think that is, for me currently, in addition to what Amy was saying about making sure that we have the highest quality instruction in the classrooms, the other is translating whatever's happening in the public health world to something that makes sense to staff and to families so that we can make movement and plan. Educators are a field of planners who are perfectionists and want to create incredible magic for students and families. And to have to do that on ever-changing sand is really difficult emotionally and professionally.
So
thank you, Socorro.
I would echo what my 2 fellow superintendents said 100%. Socorro, I don't know why you had to bring up hairdresser, because yes, I need one. You know what all of what they said, absolutely. What I went to in thinking about, okay, I'm not going to say what they said, was just how we want students to be agents of their own learning and really powerful and empowered young human beings to go out into the world and do all that they're going to do, despite all the stuff that's going on, all the uncertainties. Absolutely. What I'm seeing is, yes, our students are resilient and doing that. It's the adults. It's the adults who maybe thought, I'm going to do this for the next 20 years, or I'm going to do this the next 30 years, or I'm going to do this the next 10 years, who have had to shift. And my favorite word right now is pivot. Who have had to pivot in this new environment of learning, of which I'm not so, well, I shouldn't say that because I am an educator, but the learning is important, but the building of the community is the priority. If teachers and support staff and administrators, and that's what I see, what we're doing in the district is right now, it's so important to build the relationships in the community. The learning and the concepts will come as a result of that. So that's been our focus the first 3 weeks. As we keep moving forward with the shifting sand that Socorro talks about, which I totally, yes, agree with. We'll see when we switch to a pivot to maybe a little bit different priority. But for right now, for us, what Amy talked about, that community, without it, in this distance learning world, it just doesn't feel like anything else matters. And so I just think it's a huge piece that takes all of us, as was said earlier, parents having the flexibility in their work to be able to sit next to their son as they're reading, and that's videotaped to send back to the teacher, and then I get the honor of seeing it. All of that is connection, it's relationships, it's commitment, it is the give and take of the entire community to change work schedules, and to be flexible and to pivot things at work. All of that is what I've seen in these last 3 weeks, and I've been amazed. I have been just amazed, and then grateful that in all of this chaotic stuff, that these bright shining lights of hope and that we will get through this are there.
Thank you, Diane. Yes, those are some challenges that we have, but I'm grateful to hear that you guys are really making progress. The next question is for Ananda. What challenges, maybe pushback, if any, have you seen from employers to offer childcare or flexible options to employees?
I would say we've come a long way in that, and as much as we don't want to be the community that gets really good at getting through disasters together, for employers that didn't sort of understand the need for flexibility and the benefits for flexibility. So, I mean, it's sort of a combination of it sort of being the right thing to do, but also there's like a real ROI there, right? When you take care of your employees in that way. So I think the employers that sort of didn't understand what happened when their employees didn't have access to childcare, they learned that in October of 2017, when so many centers and schools and the whole system shut down overnight and for multiple weeks. So I would say I wouldn't say we're getting pushback. I think people are really understanding it and looking for the resources to. I think they're currently doing it, and you heard it from the superintendents doing it with their employees, and you certainly see examples all over the community with employers doing it. So I wouldn't say it's a pushback. I'd say it's, they're eager for resources and doing everything they can.
All right, thank you, Ananda. We have another question here, and this is for Rachel. What is Tutor.com, and how can a student make use of it?
What is Tutor.com, and how can a student make use of it? First of all, I'd like to make sure that everybody knows that Tutor.com is for everybody. It's for even a parent of a kindergartner and that's your kindergartner who needs help with writing or something. Tutor.com is for them. It's for college students. It's for adults doing professional writing. It's for everybody. Tutor.com is a service that is provided free to the community from Sonoma County Library. We do pay for it. It's a product of the Princeton Review, and it is live, free, one-on-one tutoring in 40 subjects, 40 subjects in English and Spanish. All you need is a library account to use it. If you go to sonomalibrary.org and type in the word tutor in our website search, you'll find it. And all you need is a library account. You can use a regular plastic library card account that you may have. If you haven't made your way to the library in a while and you need to get an account, you can click at the top of that sonomalibrary.org screen and click get a library card, and you can get an e-card. Use that to go on to tutor.com. And then 51,000 students in our county all have Student One cards, and they can use that Student One card account to access tutor.com. And we are working basically teacher by teacher in every district that is partnered to teach them how to walk their students through that. We also have some informational videos that are almost ready to go to show students how to use Tutorcom. It's an incredible resource. It's totally free. It's unlimited. So a parent who maybe has an assignment from their teacher, the student's teacher, and they don't quite understand it, and maybe they would prefer to talk to somebody in Spanish, and the teacher's enjoying an evening with their family, a family can log into Tutor.com, and the parent can say, hey, in Spanish or English, they could say, hey, I just need some support with my second grader's math assignment here. And that tutor will be like, okay, let's do this. And they can do it. It's a great service. I could go on and on, teach you all kinds of things about it, but definitely do check out sonomalibrary.org. And then you can search the word tutor in our website search, and you'll find the resource. It's an online resource.
Thank you, Rachel. I learned quite a bit about Tutor.com this evening. I definitely use it for my own kids. I had 4 at home right now that I need to do homeschool with for the next several months until we know when we go back to school. I have another question here. The question is for the superintendents. And it says, how are you dealing with internet issues, broadband services shortages, and what would you like the community to do to step in and help? And then Socorro?
Go ahead, Socorro.
Go ahead.
Well, one, I think these are just going to be like fantastic dreams. So please, like, let's go big in Sonoma County. But one is to make the internet a commodity, like electricity and water. Everyone should have it. The money being made on internet access, I mean, we need to put a stop to that, and it needs to be commoditized, and everybody needs to have access. So that's like, woo, that's the big dream. But in something everyone can do, small businesses, etc. I have an idea, a vision of creating almost like internet cafe pop-up spots outside your establishment. Put up a sunshade and like a picnic table where a family could come, and even for some respite, to be out of the house, to be outside and a change of scenery, these internet pop-up areas where people can get stable internet for an hour or 2 hours and create a moment that is different than being at home, or even sadly sometimes in their room all day. Those are the types of things where the community can get involved. Sponsors, sometimes I think about Christmas time when we have sponsor a family or whatever. Get your neighbor, if you know they don't have internet, go, if you don't know your neighbor, get to know your neighbor and sponsor their internet. Let them ride yours. Whatever we need to do so that everybody has access to internet. It is shameful that in a county as prosperous as ours, that we have families that struggle to get internet access. Amy?
Great. Thank you, Socorro.
Ditto and all that. Let's get our creative brains together as a community and figure this out, because it is so important. But I do want to share on a district level, you know, some of the initiatives that we're doing, as well as I'm sure Diana, Socorro, the hotspots. Holy smokes, we have purchased hundreds and hundreds of hotspots. So, you know, it's taken a great deal of work, and all of us colleagues, we work on this together and figure out creative ideas. But we surveyed families, surveyed students. We also looked at data from last year when we were, you know, hurriedly had to shut down the school year, what students in fact didn't have them. So we needed to identify who in fact did not have internet service as our first thing that we needed to figure out. Upon that, then we've purchased all these hotspots that we are delivering and giving to families, and they're so grateful and so appreciative. The next level that we've had to take it to is, okay, I am very proud that I want to say we're 100% connected with all of our students. And I want to say almost, because you know what, some days the hotspot, something happened, it broke, it dropped, or their Chromebook, you know, the dog ate, you know, whatever, something, there's always that one or here or there that something happens to it. But I'm very proud of my district and the rich communication to ensure that every single child has that. So we found out they all have it. Okay, then from there, our next level is, a family might have it, But as you all know, it could be spotty. They could have 3 families living in a home and they're all trying to log on. So as you can imagine, when you have a Zoom, you have a teacher with 24 students, 20 students, they're all trying to Zoom together, and you have one child where it's spotty, that affects everyone's learning, let alone this poor child that's not able to access as they should. And so that's the next tier leveled. So if that child is having these problems, then that's the next level where we're gonna, again, we see that you have internet, but you know what? We wanna make sure that you have high quality internet. We're gonna provide this device for you. So we have, we're grateful that extra funding has come into all districts to help support with these initiatives. Very, very, very grateful. So those are just some of the things that we're doing. And I tell you, with that comes a lot of systems in place and a lot of communication to find out who in fact needs them. And then how do you get them to families? How do you set that up? The communication, the translations, setting up the distribution days. You know, how do you teach families how to do all these things? We've had to create videos for our families, videos, you know, we've had to instruct our, it's really cute with the kids, like teaching their families how to do these things. I mean, we've had to get uber creative, and just very, very proud of my staff of going above and beyond to figure it out for our students, because I know I love my students and they deserve it, but you know what? All students deserve this. They all deserve high quality internet, and it is absolutely mandatory. And together as a team, as a county, let's figure this out, please, please.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, here we go. Ditto across the board. We are one-to-one, so there is a device for every child in our school system. Not all of them want them or need them, but there is one for everyone. We have provided 2,500 hotspots. And we're also going to get another 250 out of a different network because of the size of the district. Some don't work in some areas, and so we're gonna put them in places. The other thing we did is we reached out to organizations like Catholic Charities or Dream Center, places where we knew we might need to put some hotspots, and sure enough, we were able to place hotspots in those locations as well, and then make sure that they're all working. We didn't know if we would do some, you know, by family or how we would do that, but what we ended up realizing is that there may be only 2 computers or devices in a home, but there may be 7 people needing to use them. And so we just gave up on that idea, and it's just one-to-one. So there's that. And as Amy said, we make it sound easy that we're distributing these and giving these, but the amount of infrastructure that goes behind all of this work in combination with determining how we're going to do in-person or distance learning and all of the factors that go along with that, we may make it look easy, but I guarantee you our staffs are stretched to the max in making sure all of this is coming together, because they love our kids and they love our families. So no questions there. Now here's my harebrained idea. There are no buses operating for Santa Rosa City School District right now. Amy. And so why can't those pop-ups with internet also be on buses parked out across the community? Yeah, woohoo, come on, I love it, let's do it. And finally, I have traveled abroad, and I am telling you, if the smallest village in another country can have high-speed internet for everyone of people in that village, how in the heck can we not do it in California? It isn't just Sonoma County, it's California and actually the United States, but I'm gonna focus on Sonoma County and California right now. So those are my parting words. It's like other people have figured it out. And right now it is imperative that we are connected, at least in that way, at high speed. What is in the way of making that happen? Someone tell us, so then we can have a call to action for that, because it should be very simple. In fact, I bet you it's a switch that someone needs to flip.
Yes.
Okay.
Easy button somewhere. There is an easy button for this. There has to be.
Thank you for sharing, Diane. I can resonate with distribution of laptops. The job that I do with the college, you know, I serve the parents that you guys work with for the English language learners, and it's definitely a challenge. the task, but I'm happy to say that I had advocated with my team to be able to distribute laptops to our students in the Southwest Santa Rosa area. The question that is next is for Ananda, and it actually came to my mind as I was thinking when she was speaking about universal preschool or early childhood education. So the question is related to that, and it states, in this new environment, what new partnerships, initiatives does the community need to start supporting to create greater access to early childhood education?
I think there are, multiple ways to do it. I think it starts with, as you sort of referred to in your question, just cross-sector partnerships. So it's the idea that we're all in this together. So it's the, education community who you can see clearly from the superintendents, they've invested sort of beyond their own obligation to educate students, but like after care and on-site care and the things that they're doing in that way. But, the business community is stepping up and looking for ways to offer care. You see local nonprofits investing this, and we've seen, cities and communities investing as well. I think what it really takes to make it happen is sort of that public investment at some point. We've seen a beginning of that in Santa Rosa, but really like a bigger scale public investment at a local, state, and federal level. So part of it would be, advocating for that piece of it. When it comes down to it, child care providers do not charge enough. They don't make enough for the work that they do, and parents pay way too much for child care. And so really the only way to have those two meet in the middle is to have some kind of a public investment.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Ananda. That's great information. Moving on, I have another question here that I lost track, but I'll find it. This is for Rachel. How can public library work with my child's class teacher and support parents teaching at home?
We just can't wait to get into virtual classes. Our children's and teen services librarians, we have a children's librarian and a teen services librarian at all of our libraries. So we have full-time professional librarians, and we're working really hard on our curbside service to provide, by telephone or people placing holds online to get their books, to get all the education and enrichment materials they need from the library. One thing I want to make sure that everybody hears is that Sonoma County Library does have hotspots, and we do have Chrome kits, which is a Chromebook and a hotspot together that folks can borrow for 2 weeks. So it's not a semester-long fix, but in the case where maybe a family is waiting for that district hotspot or the one that they had isn't working, you can call the library and ask, is there a hotspot available? We had hundreds of them deployed in March when the shelter-in-place order went down, and they were continuously in use until just like 2 weeks ago. So that was available to everybody who had that the entire time. So people out in rural areas and all of that. Our libraries also have Wi-Fi. And if you want to, safely sit in your car near a library building, it's very likely that you can get the Wi-Fi signal. We don't recommend that people get out of their cars and sit around the building and congregate. That's just not safe for social distancing. But if people are in a pinch, they can use the library Wi-Fi, and they can call and try to check out a hotspot or a Chrome kit for a few weeks as an interim, as a support. Sonoma County Library is here as an enrichment, as a support, as a way to help mitigate any issues that families may be having in between what the school districts are able to provide. Our role is, we have, the Sonoma County Library has its role and the schools have their role. And we definitely want to work in partnership there. We don't have the same kind of acquisitions power that a school district would have for hotspots, but we definitely do have them for people. We don't have one for everyone, but it is something that anyone in the community can inquire at the library to give a call and find out if there's one available. Parents who want to work, I know there's this idea of pods, learning pods going around, and some people are able to afford to maybe hire a tutor or get an au pair for a small group of kids, or maybe a teacher who doesn't really feel safe working in the classroom this year, or maybe somebody who wants to work with a small group of kids. And that's sometimes as money can be a barrier for that. And at the public library, we definitely want people to feel like they can get in touch with our librarians and say, hey, would you hop into a Zoom class with my child and like her 2 friends, and we have this small group at our home and the kids are going to Zoom in with the librarian. We absolutely want to do that. If you want to participate in our YouTube book clubs and the Zoom book clubs that we have for kids, we definitely have a lot of those opportunities to interact with a professional librarian. By going to curbside service at the library, a lot of our branches, the staff there know the kids very well. They know the families and they want to get to know the families who maybe haven't visited in a while. And they'll put little notes in a bag that's full of picture books, say, hey, this is one of my favorite books. They try to give recommendations. There's just so much that we are doing and that we really truly want to connect with kids and families right now. There's a lot of work to be done, but we're out there trying our very best to do it safely. I just want to, last thing here is I want to make sure that everybody knows that it is safe to use the library. You can borrow material from the library. It is not, you're not going to get diseases or germs from our books. We are quarantining our materials. Our hand is guided by science through the REALM study. It's a study called Reopening Archives, Libraries and Museums. And our items are quarantined for a minimum of 4 days or 96 hours. And I've been talking to some districts about their plans for how to safely quarantine and circulate school material. So if there's questions about safety at the library, we are taking it very, very seriously so that there isn't any kind of concern of transmission through a library book. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Rachel. And we are coming to our last question of the program this evening. This question is for all of you. We are seeing mental health support to students and families, but what about teachers, administrators, support services? How can the community help you to ease the stress?
I'll start. I think one is to greet every challenge as an opportunity with kindness, humility, and compassion. Assume best intent of everyone around you, that they're showing up to do the best for your child. And I think graciousness right now, someone else used that phrase, will go a long way. All of our services that we have available for students and families are available for staff as well. All of our staff, whatever role they play, and we're very cognizant of the high demand on them emotionally, professionally, at home, and financially. They're living through the pandemic too, just like everyone else, and we deeply recognize that need. And we, like Amy said, part of us being here is to help the community recognize that as well, that everyone at every one of your schools, wherever they are, not just ours, is working and providing everything they can with every moment they have, well beyond a work day or the confines of their office, to make sure students and families are getting what they need. So please enter into challenges with compassion, with innovation, with ideas for what to do better, because everybody's bringing everything they can to every opportunity in front of us.
Right, thank you, Socorro. Who would like to go next?
I'll just have to say, you know, just understanding, please be understanding, grateful, supportive. You know, you have to imagine as a superintendent, my district's probably the smallest out of all 3. You know, I have close to 2,800 students and over 270 employees. And then I have my leadership team, and I worry about my people. I greatly, greatly worry about my people, because us as superintendents, we need our leaders to stay strong. We need them to persevere through here. And because they the ones then vibe off into the staff, and then the staff into the students. It's this whole system. So just appreciate and love and help and support. And I could not be more gracious of our community and all of the outreach and everything that everyone pushes forward to help us. So just keep what you're doing. Our community is wonderful and supportive, and we really, really feel it. So thank you.
I agree. The patience that everyone has exhibited has really been, I'm so grateful for that. On a tangible side, we have invested in therapists. and as a part of our staff and employ therapy interns because we have MSWs who are licensed. It's that important. We were fortunate to have been supported by Comcast, the North Bay Fire Relief back in the fires, Kaiser, and that support continues for us to have an integrated wellness center in Santa Rosa City Schools. But actually we won't turn away anybody because it's free. And so we have a warm line right now. We take appointments, and and we've actually also contracted with service providers, therapists who are not school staff, for staff who may not want to talk to other staff, but actually would want to talk to somebody else. And so it's very, very important to us, the mental health and well-being of the people who are taking care of children in classes every day and teaching every day is of the utmost importance. And so that's how we are supporting our staff. And our own demonstration to them of generosity and graciousness and try things and don't be afraid and take a risk and really following through with those actions during this time where people just are doing whatever they can and trying all different new things is really, really important.
Thank you, Diane. Ananda and Rachel.
Okay, yeah, I can't talk about this without echoing sort of the sentiment of just being proud of the community. We are very good at coming together and supporting each other. Of course, that's challenging now when we can't come together physically in the same way. And so I think it's, as employers and community and friends and family members, I think it is important to remember sort of our own self-care and finding other ways to reach out. There are ways that we can do that. I would say as an employer, thinking about things that employees used to get to experience and coming together and trying to bring those into our virtual meetings as a resource. If any of you haven't seen it, one that we're using for our team is a chamber member, Santa Rosa Community Health created a Socorro Resilience Collaborative. They have wonderful resources on mindfulness training. So that's a great site. I'll put it in the chat when I'm done talking. Yeah, I think that covers it for me. I'm proud to be a part of this community as through these repeated crises and how we come together and how we treat each other. So thank you for bringing that up, though, as a really important topic that we take care of each other and ourselves.
Thank you, Ananda. Rachel?
I can't think of a better way to take care of oneself than to just sit and read a book or share a book with a little one. We get questions at our locations from parents who say, they'll call or they'll email us and say, my child's really stressed out, or I don't know how to talk to them about a specific issue, like maybe a death in the family, or what is disease, what is COVID, how do I talk to my kid about some of these things? I need books, I need suggestions, and that is what we do. We are there to provide that supplemental resource for families when you just have a child who may be really experiencing a lot of trauma. We are experiencing trauma as adults, and our kids are carrying a lot of trauma over the last 4 years. And to be able to turn to some literature, turn to books, to kind of dive in and have both a really personal experience with that book, and then be able to share it with a loved one or someone that you trust and talk about what the book brings up in your feelings. So important. And all of that is available for free, completely free at the public library. We really looked at the impact of some of the policy barriers that we may have had over the years. A few years ago, we said, there's some things that we have in our policies that are kind of preventing people from using the library, or maybe causing them to feel like they're carrying around these feelings that they can't go to the library. They're not welcome there. They don't see themselves there. Maybe they lost a book in 7th grade and they still carry this library shame from 25 years. And we said, we've got to figure out how to eliminate the barriers. And that's one of the things that the Student One Card partnership does. Students with a Student One Card account, 2 books every school year, they can lose, damage, destroy, and we just waive it. So that a family doesn't feel like, oh geez, there you go, there's your new roller skate money, out the window because you damaged that library book. Don't worry about it. Just tell us that that happened. We know it's an age-appropriate thing that happens, and we just waive it. There are no fines. Nobody pays fines in Sonoma County for public library books. Right now, we're not even charging like lost fees because we know people have books sitting in their garages because they haven't been able to get to the library or return their books, and that's totally, we're looking at our policies, and we've made a lot of really important changes in the last few years to eliminate barriers, library, potential for library shame. We want adults to feel like they're welcome there. They don't have to carry around those old feelings of, the librarian knows that I had a late book in 8th grade. We don't want people to feel that way. So if you haven't visited us in a while, maybe think to yourself, hey, the next time I need a book or my child is having questions about a topic, I'm gonna call up that librarian. I'm gonna see if they can help me out. And it's all free. I mean, why not? You have nothing to lose.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. I have used the library quite a bit with one of my sons, and it's been a great experience to have access to the library. And I'm sure that I will use it now during these times as well. At this time, I would like to thank the panelists for being here this evening. It has been a great honor to get to know you a little bit better. I know most of you. Some of you I met today, so great to meet you virtually. And I look forward to continue the conversation on education and future programs. So I hope you come back to one of our programs that we'll put together with the program committee. I would also like to acknowledge Carrie Fidget, who is behind the scenes, putting all the poll questions. And I also pulling questions from Facebook. She's part of our board with Cien, as well as a program committee member as well. So thank you everyone for being here this evening. At this time, I'll pass it on to Oscar to give some final remarks.
Thank you, Hector, and thank you to all the panelists. We really do appreciate you coming to the program, and thank you to the attendees who showed up. And I hope everyone is picking up all those links that are on the side in the chat room. If you did not pick them up, we will make them available to everyone when the program is done. We wanted to present a program to you that shows you all the struggles that the education pipeline is going through here in Sonoma County, and to, in many ways, I would say, humanize this whole ecosystem that we have in education. Before pandemic, you would drop off your kid, or at least I would, and then I'd get a homework assignment, and then I was done, and I was happy that they were in school. Now I have the deepest appreciation for all of you educators and how you handle our children and try to make our community better. So anything that we can do in Cien to support you, we will do that wholeheartedly. So I thank you from Cien. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you everyone who attended. Be safe.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias.
And a reminder,
Okay, here we are.